these mindfulness practices they've helped me exponentially with my anxiety and my depression. Also, what's helped me a lot is emotional regulation. And for someone like me in my recovery, that's really important that I can regulate my emotions. The other beautiful benefit, like you'll have heightened focus, again, strengthening that awareness muscle within. But my most favorite is the deepened relationship with my higher power that I receive through these practices. Because anytime I go to my yoga mat or my meditation, I am always inviting, I say, God to be beside me.
I held the weight of the world in my hands, but I let it go. Now I understand. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm alive. I'm living my best recovered life.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
And welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. So good to be with you guys here today. A great topic, one that I have wanted to do forever. And as many people know, if you follow me on TikTok or you're in any one of our lives, or if you're just a frequent listener of the Recovered Life Show, you know we talk a lot about mindfulness. We talk a lot about meditation. We talk a lot about breath work. And that's something that we've wanted to pursue here a lot more. So I am so thrilled to have our new contributor with us, Kolleen. And Kolleen is a mindfulness practitioner. Welcome to the show, Kolleen.
Thank you, Damon. Happy to be here.
Oh, I am so thrilled that you are here. You know, like I mentioned in the intro there, this is something that is so essential if you want to have a great recovery. This whole idea of mindfulness. And one of the things that has come up in the community is people just don't know what mindfulness is. And when I was trying to explain it, I even struggled. I kind of know what it feels like to be mindful,
Mhm.
to have mindfulness, Colleen, but I don't really know what is it? Can we dive into that from your expert perspective here? What is this mindfulness thing that everybody's talking about?
We can dive into it, and I want to share. I'm not an expert per se. I'm just I'm another human being trying to figure this thing called life out. To be really honest, yet I have been teaching mindfulness practices for quite some time, and they are very beneficial in many ways. So, to me, mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment, to what you're feeling, to your surroundings, and just anchoring into that. So, as easy as that sounds, we all know it's not that easy to do. So it's just really learning how to be inside of the present moment. And one of my teachers said this that I really loved. He said, it's not just being in the present moment, it's being with the present moment and being with it in whatever fashion that looks like. I mean, it may not be a great present moment, but can you stay with yourself inside of whatever's going on? And so in a nutshell, that is what it is to me.
I love that. And you know, I've been kind of saying, well, it's being in the here and now. And that might seem, well, why do you even have to pay attention to that? Obviously, everybody's in the here and now. But I will tell you, like anyone in recovery, I sometimes will have large periods of time where I struggle being in the here and now.
Me
I
too.
really do. We've talked about this offline where I'm like, you know, wow, today it was very hard to be present and kind of where my feet are. Is this something that's unique to people in recovery? Or does everybody experience this to some degree?
I feel everyone experiences it to some degree. And if they say they don't, I'm gonna say maybe they're lying a little bit because let's be real. We've all future tripped. We've all revisited the past. And the beautiful thing about when you really start to become mindful, so to speak, is you're aware when you're doing those things. So we know we've talked about this, David, like awareness is how we can bring change into our lives, right? If we're not aware, how do we make the changes? So when I became versed in my practices and daily um, doing meditation, doing yoga, doing breath work, it's just heightened that awareness muscle. So I know when I'm future tripping or when I'm revisiting the past. And that's when I can quickly, flip it to be like, okay, Colleen, be where you are. And I say this in my yoga classes a lot. I say you can't breathe into your future. You can't breathe into your past. You can only breathe where you are, right? And that's in the present moment. So breath is another beautiful anchor in our mindfulness practices as well, knowing you can't breathe anywhere else but where you are.
Yes, and I love that because I think really the danger with people in recovery is I think we're just like everybody else, personally. Just because I'm a recovered alcoholic does not mean that people who are not in recovery don't have anxiety, don't future trip. Matter of fact, I would say sometimes maybe even more. I think the danger is, though, for people in recovery, Colleen, is that we're more susceptible to acting out in a way that might be based in our addiction. And
Mhm.
what I've found is, and it's interesting when I talk to people, and you see this on the live a lot, we'll be doing a TikTok live, or I will be doing a live event, and people will come up and they'll talk to me about relapsing. And I always ask them, where were you when you relapsed? And they say, well, I was at home, or I was at a bar, or I'm like, no, where were you in your mind?
Right.
And no one ever says, well, I was exactly in the here and now of it all. It's always, I had a past resentment. I was there. I was pissed off. I was back in the past, regretting something I did or mad about something, or I was so future tripping that you know, I was never in the present. And I think, isn't that really the danger for people in recovery? And also how you use this as a tool is that you use it to ground into the awareness of the here and now. It seems to be that in the here and now in recovery, we're safe. We seem safer in the here and now.
Correct. I agree 100%. And it is that's the danger zone, right? When we are not where our feet are, so to speak, and we're not aware and we're not present and we're not reminding ourselves in this moment, everything is okay. In this moment, I am safe, or whatever it is. And I think if we can stop ourselves, and you know this too, Damon, is we're not we're more than likely not going to relapse if we can just really catch ourselves and be like, wait a minute, I'm not even where my feet are. I'm not present at all. Let me ground. Let me be where I'm at. Let me do a check-in. Because that's another thing of mindfulness. That's really doing that emotional check-in with yourself. Like how am I really feeling? What is really going on? And
Yeah.
it's so important for me to my recovery. That's why I am really passionate about what I do because I know how much it helps. I've worked in mental health facilities. I've, helped people in recovery. And when I'm teaching a yoga class or anything, I have no idea what people are bringing into that space. I mean, I could be teaching a lot of people in recovery. I don't know. They don't clearly don't share that per se, but it's like, so I think it's for everyone. And I think it's a powerful practice to have inside of your sobriety and inside of your recovery for sure.
One of the things I know that when I wrote down this question, when I said, okay, I've got to ask her this because, and I said, I can't ask this because this seems like such a stupid question. But then the inner voice says, wait a second. I bet if I'm feeling this, other people are too. And it's simply, how do you know you're not in the here and now? Because so much of our time is spent not in the present moment. What are some of the symptoms that you need mindfulness? I guess that's what I'm gonna say, because so many people will say, "No, I'm totally in the here and now," but they're not. But they're not in the here and now.
Right.
They're checked out. They're, and I would even say that with social media too. They're on social media, they're scrolling, they're clicking, they're not really in the here and now. What are some of the symptoms of people that don't have mindfulness and might need it?
That's a really great question. For me, I live with anxiety and depression, and I've had panic attacks and just I've been dealing with that from the time I was young, teenager. And I think for me personally, that's what brought me into the mindfulness practice and the world of mindfulness practices is anxiety to me is future tripping. So really it's gaining self-awareness. I That's such a hard question for me to answer because everyone's different, right? And I think if we really were to get honest with ourselves, we know when we're not in the present moment. Like, when you're future tripping, when you're not where your feet are, when you're thinking about, I say this in my classes a lot, like you're doing your to-do list inside of a yoga class. You're not present clearly because you're already out the door onto the next thing. And I think it's that brutal honesty with ourselves. That's just my personal opinion. I think most people
Yeah.
do know when they're not really present. They're not, I know for me, yeah, I can certainly be present, but then I'm like thinking about, oh, wait, I got to go do this and I got to go do that. I'm aware that I'm doing that,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Absolutely. And the reason I ask that question is that I think a lot of people don't live in the present moment.
I agree.
And I'm finding this more and more and more with the more distractions that I have, the beeping, the clicking, 5,000 social networks, messages, phone lines, all this other stuff. My attention is getting pulled. And the more it's getting pulled, the more frazzled I get. Even before I did this, when I jumped on, I said, okay, I got to ground myself for a second into the here and now. Can we talk about the benefits of this too? Because I think people are like, well, why do I want to do that? Why don't I just be in a never ending to do list? And speaking as the massive action guy, that's my thing,
Right.
telling people to take massive action. I think it's massive action will change your life. But I've also noticed this sometimes, even Colleen, is that massive action is a distraction from actually being in the here and now. And I'm going to throw something out to you, and I really want your opinion on this. Do
Okay.
you think a lot of times in recovery, people feel stuck, or they feel they're not getting opportunities or breaks, or they're not receiving the grace or gift that they see other people getting simply because they cannot stand still and sit still long enough to receive it?
Absolutely.
Talk about that for a little bit because I think many people will resonate with the feeling of that.
Hmm.
Can we unpack that a little bit? Because this idea of being still and doing nothing
Yeah,
has such power
it
in
does.
your personal recovery.
It does. So there's three C's to mindfulness that I love. It's curiosity, calmness, and connection that you want to have within yourself. So coming to that place of compassionate curiosity and no judgment. So don't judge yourself if you're future tripping or reliving the past or being inside of the past. And I think I said this earlier, mindfulness to me is another way of really strengthening that muscle of awareness because self-awareness I feel is crucial personally in my recovery. I need to be aware of what's happening within. We talk a lot about acronyms, HALT, and all those things that, can help us in our recovery and in staying sober. Um, Mindfulness helps with stress reduction. It helps with that awareness. It's known to improve your mood. And I think what we're dealing with, like in today's day and age, because everything is coming at us at lightning speed, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I think it's only going to excel.
Yeah.
And I think it is so vital right now for people to learn mindfulness practices.
I'm sorry, we're not built to receive this much information.
Oh, I agree,
This
100%.
is my and you know what's been happening with me, And the longer I've known you, and we've been talking about this, and Colleen and I are working on something in for Recovered Life TV to help people get into mindfulness. And as she's a contributor and has been giving more information into the community, it's been great because what I've realized is in this pursuit of trying to stay plugged in, because there is this compulsion almost, and I don't want to use the word addiction, but it kind of feels like that sometimes, that we just are this rat on the wheel. And one of the things I always say is that I don't want to be a rat. I don't want to be a rat and I don't want to be on the wheel, right? And I got sober so I could actually receive the bigger gift and participate in life and not do all of this stuff. And as the decades go by, you accumulate things, thoughts, work and I've found lately it's like I want less.
Me
And I contribute this primarily to doing mindfulness, is that I found that in my recovery, just to be brutally honest with everybody here, is that over the years, I picked up this idea of constantly doing,
Mhm.
constantly achieving, constantly being. And there's nothing wrong with creating. There's nothing wrong with it. But what happened is it pulled me further and further out of enjoying just being alive.
Yes,
Do you know what I'm saying? Just being here.
100%.
Just be and lately, as I've been doing mindfulness, I realize is like, do I really want that extra opportunity? I don't know if that's for me, right? Like, I've been willing to let go more of things. Is this common? Because this is one of the gifts I see.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's a beautiful gift that you received inside of your, and inside of your practice. You receive those gifts and you have awareness of the gifts. So you're, I'm sure, going to want to continue doing whatever practices you're doing to receive more gifts, because there's many gifts inside of these modalities that are at our fingertips. So I love that for you. I think it's amazing.
How do you get into this? Okay, so, how do you do this? Because there's a lot of people are like, "All right, do I take the class? Do I take this? Do I take that? What do I do? Do I need a certain type of yoga mat?" Because I'm just telling you this, I will complicate a ham sandwich.
Yeah, I will too. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
I don't know if this is just our community, and you guys can comment in the chat if you feel that this is our community. I find this a lot in the recovery community, is that we will just go there and
Mhm.
make it so damn complicated. And I found that if I go down that road in a way I've already lost, I've already diminished it. How do you, for everybody listening,
Okay.
how do you start this simple practice of starting to be mindful and in the present moment?
Well, you tell yourself you can't eat the elephant all in one bite, right? So you start with baby steps and you keep it simple, because I have found in my life, anything I try to overcomplicate or put, crazy goal set on it, I tend to fail immediately. So it's just like in our recovery, it's one day at a time. So today, I'm going to just sit in stillness and silence for 2 minutes. And that's my practice, and that's beautiful, and that's enough for today. And I'm going to do it with love. I'm going to do it with compassion, with curiosity, no judgment. That's a big thing around the mindfulness world and the mindfulness practices is no judgment. Give yourself a lot of grace. It's hard for us to just be and sit still and not feel like we need to be going and doing and producing and all of these things. So start simple, and you can do it anywhere. You don't have to have some beautiful space set up. You can lie on your bed, put your hands on your heart, connect to your heartbeat, connect to you. That's the other thing I've shared with you. I know in the past, Damon, like mindfulness to me is this beautiful returning home to yourself, to who you are at the core of your being. And it's, just that way to tune out the noise. We have so much noise around us all the time. The world is a very noisy place. So, how can we even hear our inner wisdom, our God within, our higher power, if we're constantly distracted with all the noise? Like, it's imperative that we learn how to ground and to hear our wisdom, our truth. Because the
You
world
know
world's a crazy place
The
right
world is and the world has been getting even crazier. And, how this whole idea of how to stay calm in this. You said something that was, we were talking a little bit about receiving.
now.
And, for the people who listen to the Recovered Life show that are in our community, that follow everything at Recovered Life TV, we talk a lot about 12-step things sometimes, the ideas of 12-step, Dharma recovery, smart recovery. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And one of the things I think that is elusive to people that follow 12 steps, whether they do it through a drug or alcohol addiction or codependency or any other process addiction,
Mhm.
this idea of God's will for me. And since we know this is rooted 12 steps primarily in a spiritual solution
Yes.
to a quote doomed problem, this is elusive for a lot of people. And I'm going to tell you, this was elusive to me for a lot of times. Is God's will? Well, what does that mean? Is I like, what do I have to do to get God's will? How do I receive God's will? How do I do? And what I found for me personally, and I don't know if you've had this experience, but I couldn't stand still long enough to receive it.
Mhm.
So I would then fabricate something because I feel uncomfortable in the silence of it all. I'm getting somewhere with this. Like, you know what I'm saying? In the silence of it all, I felt really uncomfortable that yet something had to be created by me to activate God's will. And what I'm finding is it's the absolute opposite.
Mhm.
It's in the silence of it all is when that gift arises. Can you talk about that a little bit? That the being able to receive God's will and how that kind of works using mindfulness.
I love that. Well, you hit the nail on the head. It is being able to just be, to just be in that moment with you, with yourself, so you can hear the voice of God, your higher power, whatever name you choose to use. And it's just slowing everything down so you can be inside of that and be inside of that wisdom. And there's so many gifts inside of it. And I think I said this to you once when we were talking. You can't receive blessings with a closed fist. You have to be open. And that goes for your mindfulness practices too, is just being open to receive. So coming into your meditation practice with an open mind and an open heart. Judgment is there's no room for judgment inside of these practices. And that's a really important thing to remember, because I think so many of us, we get mad at ourselves, like, why can't I sit in meditation? Why can't I just be quiet? Why can't I just be, instead of get curious around that? Yeah, why can't I? Like, what is going on with me that I can't just sit still for 2 minutes? And you'd be surprised how long 2 minutes really is when you're sitting in silence.
It's an eternity.
Yes. Because
Can
so many
we
people
just
are
say
like,
it right now?
you
When
and
I
I
first
talk
did
about,
this,
yeah, we're
30
starting.
seconds is an
I
eternity.
I know. And that's why we start small and just take little tiny bites of that elephant, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And then all of a sudden you're like, nope, I'm not doing it. I can't meditate. No, just start with tiny increments of time. And
I
like,
have to tell you, it was like I have to be honest. When I first started, it was like peeling my skin off with a razor blade. It was so uncomfortable. And then I did ask myself that exact question. Why is this so uncomfortable? That was a powerful question.
it is and it's that self-awareness piece. Like, all of us in recovery, I think self-awareness is a big thing. I can only speak for myself, that I've learned inside of my recovery, is having that self-awareness and coming to those questions with love and compassion. So not judging, like, why can't I sit still? Just be with it. Why can't I? What am I trying to escape from? Because you said it, relapse often can happen, or you said something similar, when we're not in the here and now, right? So that's really important to get in touch with. Like, why can't I just be? What's going on there? What's trying to pull me in whatever direction? and getting curious around that. And I like to journal. You and I've talked about that, like especially these kinds of deep introspective questions. I like to go, this is me personally, and everyone's different. I like to go into my meditation oftentimes with an introspective question. So I come into my meditation with that. And I do personally ask for God to be with me in this time of silence where I can hear you and hear your wisdom and hear my own. I always say the God within because I do feel that God dwells within us. And and then journal once I come out of the meditative state. And I like to still kind of be in that little, call it just like you're not fully aware, awake, a lot, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you're still kind of in a little bit of
Yes.
that meditative.
Almost in a twilight.
Yeah, perfect word. I couldn't find the word. And then I like to just journal, almost like it's just coming from that deep part of me, right?
Talk about the journaling a little bit. So tell me how do you do that? Walk us through that.
So I will go if I decide to go into my meditation with an intention of an introspective question that I'm just maybe trying to really look at myself, like why am I behaving in this manner? For me with codependency, it's like what's going on here? Why am I not able to set this boundary? And I'll meditate for however long. Sometimes I don't even set a timer. I'll just let it organically. Um, I'll know when I feel like I'm complete, if that makes sense. And then right away, I always have a journal right by me. Even in my yoga practices, I have a journal with me all the time because I never know when I'm going to get a download. And if I don't write it down right away, I'll forget it. It happens all the time. Just like, when we have dreams, and I'm like, oh, I'll remember that when I wake up. And I have a dream journal by my bed too, because I write my dreams because I dream very vividly. Um, so that just helps me because it can help me. Then I can sit with it. I can set it aside, maybe a couple days later, come back to it. Maybe if I'm triggered I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've asked myself that question. Let me go back to that answer that came through in my meditation. And it's just another resource.
I love that.
And I
I
think
love
we've talked about the artist's way in the past somewhere. That's another really beautiful practice for the morning pages. I don't know if you've ever done that. That's a really
that.
beautiful
That's good.
practice. It's a beautiful mindful practice that you are writing kind of in that twilight, like not fully awake from your sleep, and just put pen to paper. I believe she says 3 pages, pen to paper, and just let it's like a brain dump in a sense, but I think it also a lot of it is coming more from subconscious. So it's coming from a deeper place as well. It's very fascinating, like what comes
It
out.
is. It
Sometimes
is.
I'll sit down and I'll just start writing like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And eventually stuff just starts to like unfurl and there it is.
It's a spring that's overflowing. I couldn't end this without talking about the benefits here because any good capitalist is gonna ask, "Well, what I'm spending my time doing this. I'm just sitting here. What am I getting? Why don't I just chill out and watch Netflix?" Like that's sometimes how we think.
I just did a
And
little like
exactly. And I want to talk about the benefits that you get out of doing this. And I want to share one with you that I shared in the community on a live once about a month ago. I was somebody that had to force myself into doing like a weekend meditation thing with
Mhm,
energy just so I could get back into it because I just had a hard time with self-discipline doing it. Um, but I was doing it, doing it, doing it. And for me, it was just sitting outside, closing my eyes for a little bit and just doing nothing,
mhm,
practicing doing nothing. And I know for me, there's a lot of fear in recovery when I first came in. I don't experience that now, but
mhm.
I think most addicts and alcoholics and codependents have fear that they just want things to be okay. And I think everybody that's a shared feeling, but I so much so with people that are in recovery.
Mhm,
And I had this moment where I felt like I was always walking like, well, if this happens, then I'll be okay. If this happens, once I get past this, then it's going to be better and okay. And it was interesting. I remember sitting in my backyard and in the middle of it, I was just like, oh my God, everything is absolutely fine. Like if everything ended right here, right now,
Mhm.
and Colleen, if I never existed anymore, it's all just okay.
Okay.
And it was the most amazing feeling I had ever had. And I think, to be honest, what it reminded me of, what was so beautiful about it, is it reminded me of what I was chasing 32 years ago when I was drinking. I was trying to reach a place where everything would just be okay. And I got it in my backyard, sober for decades, in my backyard, just okayness. It's okay. I don't have to do or achieve or do anything.
Right.
Can you talk about the benefit? Because for me, that was profound for me.
That is profound. I mean, you had peace.
Yes, that is what peace is.
Yes.
And it talks about this all the way through all of the addiction recovery modalities. Talk about the benefits here that you can get from this, because I know that's one benefit. What has been your experience, and when you working with others, what can they expect to get out of this?
Well, for me personally, it helped with my mental health, my mental wellness, because like I shared earlier, I have anxiety and depression. I'm actually on an SSRI for that, to be really transparent. And these mindfulness practices they've helped me exponentially with my anxiety and my depression. Also, what's helped me a lot is emotional regulation. And for someone like me in my recovery, that's really important that I can regulate my emotions. The other beautiful benefit, like you'll have heightened focus, again, strengthening that awareness muscle within. But my most favorite is the deepened relationship with my higher power that I receive through these practices. Because anytime I go to my yoga mat or my meditation, I am always inviting, I say, God to be beside me, to be with me during that time. And for me, that's the most important thing. Like the most important relationship, in my opinion, is the one I have with myself and the one I have with God. And that's the benefit I receive from these practices. And those are the two relationships I want to strengthen the most, because guess what? I'm stuck with me till my last breath, and then who knows? And that anchor, my faith foundation, that anchor to God is what keeps me sane. It's kept me sober through my recovery. And so I mean, to me, that benefit is like, what more do you want, right? Like, and I want to say this before we end, because this is really important. I feel, don't ever discount the power inside one deep, conscious, sacred breath.
Mhm.
One. There's so much power in just one inhale and one full exhale. That just
This has been such a great episode, and I'm so glad, Colleen is now a Recovered Life TV contributor, so she's gonna be on at least every couple weeks, if not more, and we're gonna be diving into this about mindfulness, how to stay awake, aware, and alive through life, and experience it sober, experience it in your best recovery. And guys, for those of you who are Plus subscribers that are supporters of Recovered Life TV, I'm going to be doing an after the show with her. And I'm going to be asking, we're going to go even deeper. We're going to go even deeper in the after the show. So for all of you guys, that's going to be that next episode that's coming up. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and many things to look forward to with you on Recovered Life TV.
thank you, Damon. Thank you so much.
Hey, if you like this episode, think about supporting us by becoming a Recovered Life Plus member. At Recovered Life TV, we're not just delivering premium recovery resources, we're empowering you with the knowledge and tools that make a real difference in the quality of your recovery. By subscribing, you gain access to ad-free content, expert insights, exclusive video and audio segments, special projects, plus so much more, all while supporting our mission to spread the recovery message far and wide. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding or stay updated on the latest addiction and mental health recovery trends, Recovered Life Plus is for you. Subscribe now and start living your best recovered life. Just go to recoveredlife.tv and become a Plus member today.